Hi, I'm the Human Floyd, and in the introduction to this series, I talked about how roleplay, or RP, is a new form of storytelling. In this 3-part guide, we'll be talking about one of the many forms of RP, the MMORPG, or Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. MMOs like Guild Wars 2 and the Elder Scrolls Online are massive simulated worlds, each with their own fictional history and fantasy cultures. What most people who don't play these sort of games are unaware of is that the setting of each MMO has a vast and often complex story governing everything from the actions of the computer characters to the layout of the map. Roleplayers, or RPers, choose to immerse ourselves in this world and become part of it by creating a character who was born and raised in one of these fictional cultures and playing the game through the eyes of this character. The first step to becoming a role player is to join the world. But before that, let's take a look at some footage from what you can expect to come across once your adventure begins. This is footage from an RP event in the Elder Scrolls Online. The event was fairly straightforward, a celebration for the life of an ancient Nord hero, Geirmund, put on by a roleplay guild called the Vigilant. There were dancers, drinks, and even a fight. Everyone here is typing what their characters are doing and saying. Think of it like a collective writing project. Each writer controls a single character and uses the game to represent the appearance and position of that character. The outcome of a scene is determined by the actions of each character, resulting in an environment in which you never know what will happen next. In this footage from a different roleplay in the same game, my character was allowed to join the Veiled Heritance, a fanatical terrorist organization. Though he convinced them of his loyalty for a brief time, this was shattered moments later. He guided the elven leader away from the others, then attempted to assassinate her. The guards chased him down and eventually had their revenge. These Lord of the Rings Online players are role-playing out a disagreement between their characters. One of them is eager to go on a dangerous investigation into a mysterious curse which has fallen upon Rivendell. The other two insist that her father would never allow it. In the end, she goes off anyway, leaving these two to break the news to Daddy. But how does this happen in the first place? How do people decide to meet up and form organizations like the Vigilant and the Veiled Legacy? Who plans these parties for ancient Nord heroes? Who decided that there was a curse on Rivendell? The first step in joining the world is to meet the community. There are a few different ways to get involved in the roleplay scene. If you're lucky, you will just stumble upon it in the world and can simply introduce your character. Randomly coming across other RPers and getting to know them is a natural, memorable way to get started, but it doesn't always happen. As the popularity of each MMO waxes and wanes, so do the amount of role players. Something useful to remember is that RP communities are constantly shifting, and nothing about them is permanent. If you can't find someone to RP with in the game that you've chosen, the best thing to do is to find the online hangout for that RP community. Almost every roleplay group has a website or haunts the official game forums. The forums are used to coordinate events, advertise RP guilds, share ideas, ask questions about the practice, and a whole lot more. Even if you have found a group of RPers you enjoy role-playing with, the forums are always an option. Sharing your writing and art, reading articles, and discussing the setting are great ways to help you think up new ideas for your roleplay. Being surrounded by the creative energy of others will fuel you in your own endeavors, even beyond RP. In the description below, I have links to some of the more popular online RP communities for various games. Most of these have a place where you can introduce yourself. Go ahead and talk about your past gaming experience, and tell people what you're looking for in your roleplay. You'll be surprised at how much cool stuff is going on that you never would have known about before. When you enter the secret world or Star Trek Online as a role player, you are shedding your true identity for a while and becoming something else. In this case, I am Turge, warrior of the Klingon Empire. But what separates role players from children playing imagination games is the detail and thought that goes into a character like Turge. Most role players choose to write up a basic description and backstory for their character. On many RP websites, there is a section for character profiles, also called character sheets. This is my character profile for Utek Ja, the Argonian I play in the Elder Scrolls Online. I have his physical description, some information about his personality, and a brief description of his backstory, which only reveals so much. There are several reasons to create a character sheet. Writing one helps you develop your character when you're first thinking them up. It prompts you to answer questions you might not have thought about, like who their family members are or what items they carry on their person. It also helps to have a handy reference in case you forgot the eye color or year that your character was born in. Not everyone shares their character sheets, and some people keep a second, secret profile with information that they will only reveal through roleplay, if at all. But many do choose to post their public profile in a community site. Some do this seeking critique on their character or the writing itself. Some are more interested in ensuring that our characters fit into the setting and continuity. Many MMOs have such vast stories that no one knows everything about them. It's very common to make a simple mistake in your character's personality or backstory, which clashes with established canon. For example, if I didn't know anything about Star Trek Online, I might say that Turge, my Klingon, once met Captain Kirk on an assignment. When I go to post that on the SWTOR forums, someone would quickly inform me that this game takes place long after Captain Kirk's death, and that would not be possible. I would then go back into my character profile and edit out that mistake. Problem solved. This continuity, or backstory for video games, is collectively referred to as lore, or canon. I want to be clear that there's nothing wrong with throwing caution to the wind and jumping into a game without a character sheet or even an idea of who your character is. You can develop these things as you go. But unless you're going to be playing a character who has severe amnesia, you will want to have at least a basic idea of the world you're role-playing in. Lore is what ties everything together into the same world. By everyone sharing the knowledge of a particular universe, we can immediately connect to people we've never met, and start role-playing with them without hesitation. This is one of the major features of MMO role-playing that sets it apart from tabletop or LARP. Unlike pen and paper games where you are all playing with a small group of friends, in an MMO there is an entire world of other players out there. In the Elder Scrolls Online, I can meet any other Argonian player and start talking about the Hist, the sentient trees which Argonians revere. And the other player will know what I'm talking about and respond as an Argonian actually would in, say, the game dialogue or the novels. Without even knowing this other player, I immediately have this connection to him, and we can start role-playing together. So knowing your lore puts you in the world, that's great, but how do you learn lore? Usually, simply playing the game and observing the story is a great way to start. There's always more depth than the main storyline though. Wikis, novels, movies, and shows are all places where you can find lore. There's a list of lore resources for various MMOs in the description below. The more you learn, the more ideas you will get for your own roleplay. There's no way to explain how fun it is to feel like you have really become part of a fantasy world, like Tamriel or Azeroth. General setting knowledge is always good, but you're going to want to specialize in the lore of whichever race you have chosen. MMOs almost always give you a choice of what race you want to play. To successfully portray a member of that race, you will need to know what their culture is like, how they are raised, some of their typical personality traits, etc. To learn more about Klingons for my character Terj, I have collected a list of Star Trek episodes focusing on Klingon culture and watched them. I've also read up on them on Memory Alpha, the Star Trek Wikipedia. I've learned that Klingons are a warrior race, honor-bound, and very proud. But I don't necessarily want to make the perfect Klingon robot. We all love Lieutenant Worf from Star Trek, but he's not just an honor machine. He is unique, with flaws, deep emotions, and internal conflicts. As I hope my character will be. What kind of characters inspire you? You can draw inspiration from anywhere. While movie and novel characters are always good, I would suggest looking to people you actually know in real life. The more lifelike and realistic you make your character's personality and mental state, the more fun you will have playing them. You'll also find that other RPers will enjoy your character more. Most RPers will tell you that they are never done creating their character. It's an ongoing process. Just like real people, characters will evolve over time. You'll find that if you allow the events which take place in your roleplay to affect them, they will change your character in interesting and unexpected ways. Almost like they have a life of their own. But to start with, you just need a basic idea of who they are and where they came from. As I said before, writing up a character sheet is a great way to do this. There are links in the description below to a few different templates you could use. But your character sheet can look however you want it to. You don't even really have to make one, as long as you can remember the details of your character. This part is all up to you, but I do have a few suggestions when thinking up your character. Integrate your character with the world. Fit his or her backstory in with events which have taken place in the lore. Pick a handful of typical traits for your chosen race. There's something magical that I can't quite explain that happens when a group of trolls meets a group of Tauren, and their cultures collide. Add color and legitimacy to your character by ensuring that they have at least a few traits that are typical of your chosen race. For example, trolls are often superstitious, xenophobic, and clever, whereas Tauren are quiet, mystic, and in touch with nature. You may also want to choose a trait or two which is less typical for your character's race, to give them a splash of uniqueness without overdoing it. Give your character strengths and weaknesses. Too many people make the mistake of trying to roleplay the best archer ever, or a character who can solve any problem. We're so used to TV and movies showing us the supposed best of the best that we forget that being human is not about that at all. It's about being whoever we really are. A roleplay character should be a reflection of this, an imperfectly fascinating individual. Don't create yourself. Every artist puts something of themselves into their creation. There will undoubtedly be traces of yourself in your character, but the true practice of RP is to convincingly portray somebody else. Pick a few things about your character to make completely opposite from yourself. Try to walk in the shoes of someone you don't understand, or someone you don't agree with. You might be surprised by what it will reveal to you. Many people feel very nervous about their first RP character. If you feel you need additional direction, here's a link to a video from my old RP beginner's guide, the prototype to this series. That series focuses more on the Elder Scrolls Online, but the information within can be applied to any game. This video has a few more ideas and prompts for character creation that you may find useful. It's followed up by a step-by-step example of creating a new character. But remember, this is an art, not a science. Stepping into the game with your character figured out is very exciting, like stepping on the surface of a new planet. There's little I can say to prepare you for the immense world of RP, but I will walk you through the basic controls. IC versus OOC. IC stands for in character. It means that you are currently role-playing or acting as your character. IC conversation takes place in the chat box, in a channel known as /say. To say something as your character would, you first type /say to ensure that you are in the right channel. After that, whatever you post will be displayed to those around you. These are the words of your character. Some games have chat bubbles to make it easier to tell who is saying what. OOC stands for out of character. This means you, not the character. Mark Hamill is OOC, Luke Skywalker is IC. Floyd is OOC, Utek Ja is IC. Each game and community is slightly different, but for the most part, /say is always IC, and other chat channels, such as group chat, party chat, general /zone, are all OOC, or out of character. When you see someone using brackets like this, or this, someone is indicating that they are speaking OOC. This is the only time you will see a role player break character by using /say to communicate OOC. For example, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll be right back. There's a reason we distinguish IC and OOC. What happens in character is all part of the continuing story. What happens out of character is generally unrelated. Imagine if in this scene, Vader suddenly stopped and said, "Wait, one sec, the wife is calling." It might kill the mood. That mood, or feeling of being part of the world, is called immersion. These games usually give us many animations or emotes to help with immersion. Our peers use them to add a bit of visual flavor to our roleplay. However, there isn't an animation for everything. So when you want your character to do something the game avatar can't do, you type /e, also sometimes /me. /e is also in character. When typing in /e or emote chat, everything you write will have your character's name in front of it, to denote that this is a physical action your character is taking. In this way, RP is more like a collective writing experience than it is playing a game. Just like an author or screenplay writer bases a character's actions and dialogue on their personality and backstory, so do our peers. Darth Vader is pretty cold and heartless in cutting off his own son's hand because he has suffered greatly and has been corrupted. My Argonian Utek Ja is quiet and pensive, a little cold himself, but incredibly spiritual. This is due to his own experiences, both from the backstory I wrote for him and the RP I have been a part of as Utek Ja. In this way, role-playing is the art of creating a character and playing out that role appropriately. If you want to see more examples of roleplay in action, you can click the links on the screen. It's something that can't quite be described as well as it can be shown. If you have any questions about role-playing, please ask me in the comments below. In the next episode, we will take a look at some RP practices that are best avoided. I highly recommend it for new RPers, as all of us make these same mistakes when we start out. I will also explain the reasons these sins have become taboo. I've been the Human Floyd. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the description for those community websites. Please like and subscribe to help ensure the channel continues to pump out RP content. Peace.